Hi, today is day 6 of the 9 days, and today's topic is love. Because love is a word that is thrown around all the time, but it is often misunderstood and quite difficult to actually define. So I like to define love in a few different ways. Today we're going to be focusing on one definition of it, and we're going to learn how we can express our love for another person through this understanding of love. So the way we're going to define love today is that love means if it's important to you, it's important to me. You see, there's a misconception that we think in relationships and even in marriage, and that is that in order to maintain a healthy, loving, happy relationship with another person, you need to have common interests. You need to have shared interests. And that's not true. More important than having shared interests with another person is showing interest in another person. Showing interest in things that are important to them, even if they're not really important to you. Okay, I'm going to share an interesting fun fact with you. Okay, in the continent of Oceania, in the southwestern Pacific, there is a country that is called Papua New Guinea. Now, in Papua New Guinea, there is a region called Bougainville, which lies to the east of the country's mainland. And that region, Bougainville, is about to become autonomous. Isn't that fascinating? Maybe not to you, but you know why I know this stuff? Because my son Shlomo is fascinated with geography. And I had to learn all these interesting fun facts about all these different countries and continents and regions so that I can share them with him and so that we could discuss them together because they're important to him. And if it's important to you, it's important to me just by virtue of the fact that it's important to you. That is love, and that is how we express our love to another person. It's not about having shared interests, it's about showing interest. Because so often we think that we can't possibly have any sort of meaningful relationship or connection with someone that we just don't have shared interests with, and that really isn't true. There are so many more ways that you're able to connect with that person, and showing interest in the things that interest them is one way to get there. And the amazing thing is, the more interest we show allows not only for the other person to feel valued and seen and loved, but for you to actually broaden your own interests. And you might actually learn to appreciate what the other person finds interesting. So today, let's look for and find what interests the people around us. And then let's figure out how to show interest in that thing. So what I want to do is I want to share with you a practical tool, and that is I switch one word for another word. You see, very often when our spouse or our children or anyone else that's close with us is sharing their interests with us, they're sharing some kind of dream, some kind of fantasy, some kind of wish, and the practical side of us, the no-nonsense side, usually jumps in and we naturally respond with, oh, come on, don't be silly. Come on, you can't really do that. Come on, that makes no sense. We need to stop, and instead of saying how, let's say wow. Instead of saying, yeah, but how can you do that realistically? Let's say, wow, tell me more about that. That sounds fascinating. I'd love to hear more. Go on, explain, and ask them questions. Be curious and show an interest. So let's remember, instead of how, it's wow. Now, this is not only a great tip for marriage, being genuinely interested in hearing about what interests your spouse, but it is a great method for deepening your connection and love with anyone. Do you have a hard time connecting with your mother-in-law or with your daughter-in-law? Try this. Be genuinely interested in what's interesting to them. They will feel valued, they will feel seen, they will feel loved. You'll be able to develop much more of a connection with them. Sometimes we ourselves are so busy trying to be interesting. We want to share with others what we want to say, and we want them to find us interesting, that we forget that it's more important to be interested than to be interesting. And it's especially beneficial to apply this concept of showing interest with our teens. So often parents tell me that they really struggle with connecting with their teens because they have nothing to talk to them about, because they have nothing in common with them. Well, here's the thing. You don't need to have anything in common with them. Just talk to them about what interests them. Figure out what interests them. Learn about it. Ask them about it. Do your own research on it. Show an interest in what's important to them. Because love means if it's important to you, it's important to me.